Hello, welcome to Rush's Cafe. So today we're gonna do a tasting of Hatch Supernova. I got this one because I really liked the name Supernova. It reminded me of that Powerman 5000 song called Supernova. I think it was called Supernova. Anyway, that's what it reminded me of. But today we're doing a medium roast. It is from Brazil. It is natural process, so in the process of removing the cherry from around the coffee bean, they use a natural process, which means they didn't use water in the process of removing the outer part of the coffee cherry. So anyway, natural process, it's from Brazil, Supernova by Hatch Coffee. They're fantastic. I tried some of this the other day, and this is a medium roast. It's a bit on the lighter side of medium roast. Check this out. This is right there. Look at that, beautiful beans. Wow, it's fantastic. Really good, fantastic. On the lighter side, not as light as the Stock and Crown that we tried a couple weeks ago, but definitely on the lighter side of medium for sure. If I repeat myself and say the same thing over and over again, I apologize for being redundant. I am repetitively redundant sometimes, so I apologize ahead of time. So anyway, I planned ahead and I made sure I just ground the coffee just a minute or two ago, got it all set, ready to go to save on some time over here. And can't forget my mug. And of course, we're drinking out of the Papa Bear mug. Alrighty. So let's get to it. Let's get brewing to the coffee. And while we're brewing it, getting ready to do the tasting, I'm gonna tell you a story. So I love stories. Anybody that knows me knows I love stories. Real fast. So I weighed out 20 grams of coffee, and I'm doing my favorite ratio, which is 1:16, which means for every gram of coffee that I weighed out, we will now weigh out 16 grams of water. So 20 grams of coffee works out to 320 grams of water. All right, so let's get to brewing and story time. Alrighty, so this story comes from when I was living in Florida at the time and I was working at Starbucks. And the Starbucks that I worked at was it was a drive-through store, right? So I'm working away, getting everything set up. I got my headset on, which we weren't supposed to have on if we were working the drinks, but whatever, minor detail. Anyway, so I have my headset on. I'm listening to the people come through the drive-through, and so I'm trying to get their orders set up ahead of time because the way it worked is once the order got punched through, it would send a sticker through to us, so that way we knew what to make. But I was listening, so I would try to get it ahead of time. Now, at Starbucks, I don't know if this is still the case, but this is probably about 10 years ago. So I don't know if this is still the case, but their machines would auto shut off when they were steaming the milk to about 150 degrees, right? So if you were steaming milk and you forgot about it, no worries, the machine would turn it off automatically. Now, I had a lady come through. Okay, so keep in mind, 150 degrees is the base temp that the machine shuts it off at. Now, a lady was coming through the drive-through and she wanted her drink to be, 125 degrees. So I heard this on the headset. I knew what I was supposed to do. They punched it in correctly into the POS system. So the sticker came through, I knew what was up. I got her drink started, I was making it, no worries, no problems. And I turned it on, started steaming the milk, doing other things. Totally forgot to stop her drink at 125 degrees like she requested. So it went to full temp, 25 degrees beyond what she had requested. So I didn't even realize I did this. I just made it, sent it off, and then after it was gone, I was like, oh no, I totally forgot to actually make it the temperature that she requested. She sent it back, which I'm sure you assumed. However, here's the thing. When she sent it back, it's because it was too cold. 25 degrees hotter than what she requested, and it was too cold. And my mind was blown. So I ended up making it again and making it a little bit extra hot, sent it back out, and she was more than happy with it. It was perfect, right on the money for her, she felt. But that is the unfortunate nature of drive-through coffee shops. Sometimes, depending on where you're at, you will have customers that will come through and they are just there ready for a fight, and that's what they want. They just want to go at it. And that was the case here. She was just looking for a reason to complain. I'm assuming, I don't know. Maybe she was a nice person and just doesn't know the difference between temperatures. I don't know. Anyway, that's one of my favorite stories. I have quite a few stories from Starbucks when I worked there. And yeah, and the longer this channel goes on, the more I'll share some of those stories of interactions that I had of just silly type of experiences. And that one is one of my favorites that stuck in my mind over the years. But I mean, too, that kind of can bring forward the thought process of a person's preferences, right? How do people find the preferences that they want? How do you find out that you like a medium roast? How do you find out that you like a dark roast? So you experiment, you try different things to see. And there is no right or wrong answer, especially when it comes to coffee tasting. So the longer you're here at the channel, the more you'll find that a lot of times my findings of a coffee won't necessarily line up with what the bag says, because everybody's palate's different, everybody tastes things different, and so everybody's opinions and what they find and what they experience will not be the same. And that's okay. There is no right or wrong answer when it comes to coffee tasting, which is why you have people who drink something like Folgers, like just pre-ground, like generic Folgers, which for me, I taste it and I think, bleh. Whereas there's some people, they taste it and they love it. They think it's fantastic. It's like, oh, this is so good. And I just think it's gross, but that's okay. You know what? It's to each their own, and everybody's different. So, and that's the beauty of the coffee world, is finding out everybody's different flavors. So, and that's kind of the goal of this channel as well, is for people to be able to come here, and even if I'm tasting a coffee that maybe you can't get in your area, at least having the experience of going through these coffee tastings, you can learn different ways of being able to describe coffee. So then when someone describes one to you, or you read the description on the bag, you can say, oh, I probably like that. All right, so this is all ready to go. So let's go ahead and pour it, and then we'll taste it. Now, for the tasting, after we do the tasting, I'll read the notes on the bag after we find out kind of what I'm thinking I'm finding here. So basics of coffee tasting, I go over this most of the time when doing a coffee tasting, just in case there's somebody there that hasn't done one before. Basics of coffee tasting, there's a couple parts. Is you smell it to get the aroma, and then we did kind of describe that, which that also helps you kind of determine, once you're drinking it, to kind of understand what the coffee is going to taste like. So the first part is the smelling. So throw that hand over the cup and give it a whiff. Very beany, which I don't mind. Depending on the coffee. Now, aroma doesn't always tell us exactly what we want to know. So something can come across tasting very beany, but can smell very beany, but then once you taste it, it might have a different alteration of that smell, that aroma, to be able to really have a different flavor. But understanding ahead of time, we're probably going into this, I'm assuming it's probably going to be more fruity on the side. So the second part, this is my favorite part. So when doing a coffee tasting, you have to make sure that you slurp it like a house guest who's being extremely rude with their soup. It's a lot of fun. But the purpose of that, the reason you slurp it, is because you want to spray the coffee over your tongue, because the different parts of your tongue can pick up different flavors. And so you'll be able to feel it in different ways in your mouth to be able to better describe and kind of know where you're tasting the coffee from. So let's go ahead and go to it. Oh, wow. This tastes almost like smoky green beans. I know that probably sounds disgusting, but it's really good. I really like that. It's a rather full-bodied coffee, so it feels very heavy on the tongue, but it's quite clean. You get that initial kind of run over of just almost like a green bean type taste, but there's a smoky backside to it. So it's almost like somebody roasted up some green beans and covered it in coffee and decided to brew that. And it sounds horrible, it's really good. Yeah, let's give that another taste. You can really taste the coffee straight down the middle of the tongue. Not so much on the sides, but you definitely feel it right in the center of that palate. But it's not fruity at all. It's more earthy. And like I said, it's got that kind of green bean taste to it, but not in a bad way. I've tasted coffee that tasted like green beans that really tasted like green beans. But this is not that. Their flavor profiles, they say, are berries, praline, and baker's chocolate. I could see the baker's chocolate. The smoky part of the green beans is I'm pretty sure that baker's chocolate. Almost like right now, the aftertaste on it almost feels like I ate a little bit of cocoa powder, which is kind of neat. Like I don't really get that too much with medium roast very often, but with this one I do. But really good. Like I said, it's Hatch Coffee, Supernova. Check them out. This is really good coffee. I really like it. Yeah, so anyway, next week, I haven't decided which coffee we're going to taste next week, but come back next Tuesday. We'll taste up some coffee, and I'll have another story for you. Well, you have a good night, and we'll see you next time.